trapped in some alternate reality. You look like you've seen a ghost. I almost died. You don't remember? I remember it differently. The monitor has done something to my memories.
Dad, are you okay?
So in the last episode's ending, and this episode is certainly going off of that, Oliver and Diggle confronted Lila about working with the Monitor, learning that she is in fact working with him and has been for a while, but then they were all hit, those two and also Laurel, with darts and knocked out. Now the question is, who shot those darts? Because the Monitor shooting darts is not typically, darts is not typically a thing he would use. If he wanted to put them in this dream world, I'm sure he could just snap his fingers or wave his hand or something, and that would make them just be in this dream world where we see this cosmic energy or something, but they were just hit by darts. I'm guessing there's going to be another character that appears that maybe was responsible for this. Maybe that character was the one who hit them with these darts, but I don't think it was the Monitor because that's just not something he typically does. But at the same time, if it wasn't the Monitor, then I don't really know who it was. Like, in terms of the series regulars, there's the characters who weren't on screen. There's Renee, Dinah, and all the future characters. And Renee, Dinah, and Connor didn't have any storyline in this episode or any screen time. So maybe one of them was approached by the Monitor and they agreed to betray Oliver while Laurel didn't. But as of right now, I can't really say who did this if it wasn't the Monitor because it's just not something the Monitor does, as he's never shot a dart before. He would go about it in a completely different, more cosmic way. But then there are also a couple different questions that arise as we see in this trailer. Oliver is put in this alternate reality, alternate timeline, or some sort of dream world, probably along with John and Laurel, which is something we have seen before. I'm of course talking about the second part of Invasion, where in this crossover, Oliver along with John, Thea, Ray, and Sarah were all put into these pods, where they were all put into this shared hallucination, this shared dream world, a world where they said it's a world where Oliver never got onto the Queen's Gambit, but that's just not true, as Robert would still be dead, Malcolm would still be a villain. So I think the difference in that world is that either Malcolm's wife never died, or he just got over it and never decided to destroy the Glades. Because of this, the Queen's Gambit was never sabotaged. Because of this also, there was a chain of events that probably led to Oliver and Laurel having a successful relationship and even getting married. And obviously he never became the Green Arrow or the Arrow or the Hood, while John Diggle did. But anyway, that brings up the question of, in this dream world, if this is even a dream world and not this alternate reality, like if it's not an actual different universe, then it is a dream world. And the question is, what is the main difference between this universe, or whatever you want to call it, and ours, that the Monitor wants Oliver to see? Based off this trailer, we see that Quentin Lance is back, and he says specifically that he didn't die during the season 6 finale, that he almost died, which seems like that's going to be the main difference between this reality or this dream world and the real world, that Quentin Lance didn't die during that event, which which makes sense to bring him back. But the question, like, why would the Monitor want Oliver to go to a dream world where that is specifically what happens? And honestly, I don't know the answer to this at all. There's a lot of questions here that I haven't seen the episode. There's a lot that they don't really give much away about this episode specifically, or they didn't. So honestly, at this point, there isn't really much to speculate, and we'll just have to wait to the next week to find out what happens in this episode for all the answers. What's the main difference if it isn't just Quentin Lance's death? Why does the Monitor want Oliver to be here with Laurel and Diggle, and what is he trying to tell him? And also, a smaller question that's probably going to be answered: who was the one who shot them with the darts? Because it's just not something the Monitor does. Okay, so while this episode is definitely recreating something they did in Season 5, so that part of it is definitely an homage to Season 5, which would mean it's the third episode in the Season 2 pay homage to Season 5, or pay tribute, after Episode 1 with Adrian Chase appearing, Episode 5, actually, with all of the Russian flashbacks, and now here with the Invasion episode recreation, which is not really Season 5, it's a crossover, but it was technically a part of Season 5. But aside from that, there does seem to be some tribute to Season Season 6, which we haven't gotten any of in these tributes at all. We got a little bit of tribute to Season 7 with the flash forwards, but nothing with the prison storyline, but also nothing from Season 6. And considering this is Episode 6, while not all the episodes have been in order with the homages, I think this episode will be, as this episode will have the Season 6 title card, but there are also a couple shots in this specific trailer that remind me of a specific episode from Season 6, that episode being the Fundamentals episode, which is my favorite episode of that season. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 episode at all, but it definitely is pretty great, as it mostly focuses on Oliver Queen, and even Adrian Chase shows up, and the concept and how they pull it off, it's pretty great. And based off this trailer, it seems like this episode will pay homage to that episode, at least a little bit, and I'm guessing also more of Season 6. There's one shot of Oliver in the bunker where the camera's spinning around him. It looks like he's losing his mind or something, which really reminds me of that episode when he was tripping out on Vertigo, and a lot of the episode in the beginning took place in the bunker, and it seems like it just reminds me of that. But there is also another shot where Oliver in the Green Arrow costume is standing in front of the SCPD building, which really reminds me of a shot or a part of the episode from Fundamentals where Oliver in the Arrow costume, he's going crazy off the Vertigo, he's going to storm the SCPD, which at that point was corrupted by Ricardo Diaz to take out Ricardo Diaz, which was considered a suicide mission. But there is a shot that looks very similar to this one, where he's standing in front of the building in the Arrow costume at that point, not the Green Arrow costume, which he did have at that point, but because he was going crazy, because he wanted to get back to his original mission, he was wearing his original Arrow costume, even without the mask, just the face paint. But this shot right here of Oliver standing in front of the building definitely reminds me of that. Not only that, but that shot in that scene had Quentin Lance in it, which I'm guessing this shot and scene will have as well. And those are some tributes and homages I think will happen to or will exist for Fundamentals. But obviously the mention of Quentin Lance's death in the Season 6 finale is definitely homage to Season 6. So other than this episode basically being a recreation and a different version of what we saw in Invasion, which is from Season 5, I'm guessing it will mostly be an homage to Season 6. But also, one thing I noticed is that with this episode paying homage to Season 6, and also it seems like the next episode will probably pay some homage to Season 7, because it is Episode 7, but also Season 7's flash forwards were paid homage to in a little bit of episode, or a couple scenes. The only season that had no homage paid to it at all is Season 4, which is great because it doesn't deserve it. And while I also think that the Season 3, especially flashbacks itself, don't deserve an homage, at least that brings an interesting location in Hong Kong, and an interesting character in Katana. Season 4 not only doesn't deserve an homage because of how terrible it is, but also it wouldn't add anything. It wouldn't add Lian Yu itself, because that was also a part of Seasons 1 and 2's flashbacks, and also the Season 5 finale, which I'm guessing the next episode will pay homage to all three of those things. But with all the magic and Damien Dark and all of those things, they would add nothing to this episode whatsoever, or any of the episodes. So not only does it not deserve it, but it also wouldn't add anything, unlike the Season 3 flashbacks, which means now with Season 4 not getting any homage whatsoever, it's given the respect it deserves, which is nothing. While on the flip of that, Season 5 is getting a lot of homage in Episode 1 with Adrian Chase, in Episode 5 with the Russian flashbacks, in Episode 6 with Invasion, and probably in Episode 7 with Lian Yu itself, which is all really awesome, because Arrow is definitely showing respect to the seasons that deserve it, like Seasons 1 and 2 and 5, and also Season 3, but that doesn't really deserve it as much, but not at all to Season 4, which is great, because that's exactly what it deserves, which is absolutely nothing. So, a couple things we see during the trailer is that Lila puts her gun to somebody. Now, I think the trailer, the trailer and also the last episode is really trying to show the Monitor specifically, but less so also Lila as not really on the side of Team Arrow, and maybe even evil. This trailer where the shot of her pointing a gun at somebody, it really seems like she's pointing the gun at somebody we're supposed to be rooting for, like some member of Team Arrow, but I do think that that's not going to it's not how it's going to to all shake out. I mean, look at the trailers for Crisis on Infinite Earths. Harbinger, this character, is recruiting all the heroes. Specifically, we see her recruit the Flash, Batwoman, and the 2 Green Arrows, Oliver Queen and Mia Smoke. But it seems like she's also going to recruit Supergirl and Superman and the Legend. Also, we see her recruit the Legends and maybe even Black Lightning. So I don't think it's going to shake out. I mean, it's definitely not going to shake out where Lyla and the Monitor are going to end up being bad. But this episode definitely maybe is going to frame her in that way. But one thing we see in one of the photos is that Oliver actually meets Lyla in this episode. Diggle is there. This is going to be Diggle's part of the dream world. Maybe he doesn't remember the real world in this dream world, and he just thinks this is the same universe, the same timeline, but he never knew about Lyla's existence, and Quentin Lance never died. And when I say Lyla's existence, I meant to say Lyla working with the Monitor. But there's another shot of Oliver in the Green Arrow costume. It seems like Black Canary is there, and there's a third character that definitely seems like it's Quentin Lance, that are all blown up by something. There is going to be some sort of mission in this episode that Oliver teams up with Black Canary and Quentin. It seems like also Dinah Drake of this Dream World universe, probably a mission that involves the Monitor and Lyla Michaels that we're going to see in this episode. One thing we see at the end of the trailer is that Mia is here, which means that this is a very similar timeline to the one we see here, not as different as the Invasion Dream World that we saw, as it's literally the same thing, except Quentin is still alive, which again begs the question, why would the Monitor want Oliver to see this? Why would the Monitor want Oliver, Diggle, and Laurel to all be in this reality where the only difference has to do with Quentin Lance, that he is still alive? I think some things that would change is that the whole storyline where Team Arrow has this conflict with Mayor Pollard would have never have happened because Quentin Lance would have been mayor at that point, and I'm sure that there are some scenes where Quentin Lance would have been a great voice of reason for Oliver or for some members of Team Arrow that maybe would change a little bit about the timeline, but most of those things are pretty insignificant. Even the whole conflict with Mayor Pollard is pretty insignificant, especially when you consider the crisis. So again, it begs the question, what is this dream world for when it comes to the Monitor's plan, or when it comes to the Monitor's plan for Oliver? And honestly, again, I don't know. All I do know is that this dream world concept is really cool, and I'm definitely really excited to see Quentin Lance back, a character who obviously I really like, and it's definitely good to see him return for this episode. Apparently he's actually returning for more episodes. It was said that he's going to appear in multiple episodes, but I'm guessing that means just 2, this episode and then the finale, where it seems like the entirety of the cast, any character who ever appeared on the show will be appearing, that is except for Slade Wilson, who is off limits because of Warner Brothers, but Quentin Lance and a lot of other characters who have left the show a while ago are returning, not only for this season as a whole, but also the finale. So anyway, that is my trailer breakdown for Arrow Season 7, that is my trailer breakdown for Arrow Season 8, Episode 6, titled Reset. Let me know your thoughts about everything I talked about in this video, and also, so anyway, that is my trailer breakdown. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.